everyone knows the story of 1066. It's one of the most famous dates in the English language, drilled into schoolchildren for generations. King Edward the Confessor dies without an heir. Harold Godwinson takes the English throne. William, Duke of Normandy, says the crown was promised to him, crosses the Channel, and kills Harold at the Battle of Hastings, an arrow in the eye, according to legend. The Normans conquer England, and history pivots forever. It's a clean story, a dynastic quarrel between two men over one crown settled on a battlefield in southern England. And new research suggests that clean story is missing its most important character, one who never set foot in England, never drew a sword, and sat nearly 1,000 miles away in Rome. Because in August 2026, a historian published findings from a lost letter written by the Pope himself that reframes the entire conquest. According to this research, 1066 wasn't only a fight between Harold and William. It was tangled up in a bitter, continent-spanning war over who got to control the church, and Harold may have doomed himself months before Hastings by backing the wrong pope. This is History Hive, where we fix the stories you thought you knew. Let's rewrite 1066. First, the myth we're busting stated fairly because it's not wrong so much as incomplete. The traditional account of the Norman Conquest treats it as essentially a domestic drama. Edward the Confessor dies in early 1066. Harold, the most powerful noble in England, is crowned. William claims Harold had once sworn an oath to support William's claim to the throne, making Harold an oath-breaker and a usurper. William invades to take what he says is rightfully his, wins at Hastings, and becomes William the Conqueror. In this version, one detail has always nagged at historians, and it's the thread this new research pulls. William didn't just invade. He invaded with the Pope's blessing. Pope Alexander II reportedly sent William a papal banner, effectively branding the invasion a holy cause, sanctioned by the Church. You can even see it in the Bayeux Tapestry, a cross-bearing banner commonly identified as the papal standard. And that raises a question that has bothered scholars for centuries. Why? Why would a pope endorse the violent overthrow of Harold, a Christian king who had already been properly crowned and anointed? Popes don't casually bless the killing of anointed kings. The oath-breaking accusation was the usual explanation, but it always felt a little thin for such a dramatic step. The new research suggests the reason was much bigger than Harold and rooted in a crisis most people have never heard of. Here's the piece of history that got left out of the schoolbook version. In the 1060s, the Catholic Church was tearing itself apart over who was the legitimate pope. In 1061, rival factions elected two different popes. On one side, Alexander II. On the other, a rival backed by powerful forces, including elements of the Holy Roman Empire, who took the name Honorius II. This wasn't a minor squabble. It was a schism, a genuine split in the leadership of Western Christianity, with competing popes each claiming to be the true head of the church and kingdoms across Europe forced to pick a side. Think of it as a continent-wide loyalty test. Every ruler in Europe had to decide which pope to recognize, and that choice marked you as a friend or an enemy of whoever won. And this schism was still smoldering in January 1066, exactly when Harold Godwinson took the English throne. Now, the research from a historian at the University of East Anglia, drawing on excerpts from a lost letter of Pope Alexander II. The Pope's full register of letters is gone, but fragments survive, as copies preserved in medieval church legal collections held in the Vatican. And in one of these surviving excerpts, Alexander writes furiously about the English, accusing them of turning away from the protection of St. Peter, describing them as driven by pride, and linking them, remarkably, with Satan. Earlier, Historians had noticed this harsh language and mostly shrugged, treating it as vague medieval insult. The new interpretation connects those words directly to the Papal Schism. Read in that light, Alexander isn't just venting. He's accusing England of abandoning him and siding with his rival Pope, which would change everything. Here's how the new picture fits together and why it answers the old nagging questions so well. If Harold, once he became king, aligned England with the rival papal faction, or even just failed to firmly support Alexander, then, from Alexander's point of view, England had joined the enemy in the great struggle over the church's future. And suddenly, backing William's invasion makes complete political sense. It wasn't only about Harold's disputed oath, it was about punishing a kingdom that had defected to the other side and rewarding William, who was willing to align with Alexander. In this reading, William's invasion got the ultimate upgrade. The legitimacy of a holy war, a just cause blessed by Rome, aimed at a king Rome now regarded as an enemy. Harold's own policy toward the papacy, as the researcher puts it, may have played straight into the hands of his enemies. So the fuller story of 1066 looks like this. Yes, there was a disputed crown. Yes, there was an oath and an invasion and a battle. But wrapped around all of it was a European power struggle involving the papacy, the Holy Roman Empire, and rival blocs. And Harold may have lost the diplomatic war in Rome months before he lost the military one at Hastings. The battle was the ending. The decision may have been made far earlier and far away. Now, the honest caveats, because History Hive corrects myths without manufacturing new ones. This is an interpretation, not a settled fact, and it's important to be clear about that. It rests on excerpts from a lost letter and a reading of harsh language that earlier historians read differently. It's a compelling, well-argued case from a serious scholar, published in a new biography of Harold, and other historians have praised it as a genuine contribution. But it's a new argument entering the historical conversation, not a closed case. Good history stays honest about that line. And crucially, this does not erase the traditional story. William's claim to the throne, Harold's disputed oath, the military reality of Hastings, all of it still happened and still mattered. What the research does is place those familiar events inside a much bigger frame. It doesn't replace the drama of two men and a crown. It reveals that the drama was one act in a much larger European play. That's the correction. Not everything you knew was wrong, but the story was far bigger than the piece you were shown. Here's where I'll leave you. We like our history in tidy packages. 1066. 2 claimants, 1 battle, 1 arrow, 1 conquest. It's memorable precisely because it's simple. But real history is rarely that contained. And this is the lesson this channel keeps returning to. The events that reshape the world are usually tangled in wider currents that don't fit on a timeline. In this case, a schism in the church, a rivalry between popes, a continent choosing sides, all feeding into a battle on the English coast that history remembers as a private quarrel. A crowned king in England may have been undone by a decision about which pope to support, in a dispute centered in Rome, recorded in a letter that was then lost for the better part of 1,000 years, and only now pieced back together from fragments. The arrow at Hastings ended Harold's life, but the thing that may have truly sealed his fate was written in Latin, sealed with wax, and sent from 1,000 miles away. Check the whole board before you trust the simple story. There's almost always a bigger game. If this reframed something for you, the next episode dismantles another everybody knows moment of history that turns out to be far stranger than the schoolbook version. That video's on your screen right now, and the full myth files are linked in the description below. Subscribe to History Hive for the history they oversimplified every week. And tell me in the comments, what other famous, simple historical event do you suspect has a hidden bigger story behind it? Best suggestions become future episodes. See you in the next one!